Welcome to The Real Recipe, the podcast that brings you the perfect blend of real estate trends and topics, where we serve up fresh insights and sizzling strategies. So let's get cooking. Welcome back to another episode of The Real Recipe. Today we have two very special guests, people that we've known for a very long time. And today should be an interesting episode, to say the least. We have with us... Look at that smile. Really? Is it uncomfortable that I'm going to introduce you? Is it so uncomfortable? He's just like,
it's uncomfortable when you're looking at your mustache. I can't.
He wants to see what you're going to say about him. He's like, yeah, what are you going to say?
He's like, go ahead.
Go ahead. Who am I?
I'm waiting. Go ahead.
Tell me how great I am.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this magnificent introduction.
I'll keep it short and sweet for you.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about just the state of the real estate industry. I know it's a pretty interesting topic, as we've seen a lot of different, lot of changes over the last couple of years, or last couple of months rather. But today we have with us Michael Gomes. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Signature Realty, right here in New Jersey. We also have with us Melissa Gonzales, a realtor with Signature Realty also. And like I mentioned, some people that we've spent a lot of time with and done a lot of business with. So
Too much time.
Too much time. Yes.
I think she's chief pain in the butt.
She could be. She could be.
In the butt.
She could be. So
Jackie, you're supposed to back me up, but it's okay.
no, we'll let you suffer a little bit. So today, we wanted to talk a little bit about where the real estate industry is right now. There's a lot of changes that are happening. There's a lot of things happening under the surface right now, and a lot of. I think for buyers, they don't really get to see all that. For agents, everybody's kind of talking to each other, trying to figure out who's doing what, and what's working, what's not working, and I've also seen where it seems like a lot of deals are starting to even though there's a lot of realtors in the business, a lot of agents, it seems like the deals are getting concentrated more towards either the more established agents, more successful agents. And a lot of the newer agents are suffering right now just because they can't get...
Well, the cream of the crop is going to rise. That's what happens when you have this sort of market. We have 450 plus agents. We're blessed that we've had a good year thus far, while a lot of agencies and brokerages are not. And that's because there's a big shortage of inventory. And let's just face it and let's be honest. If we look at the landscape back the last 2 to 3 years... where you had this influx of people coming into the real estate business and the mortgage business and the title business, right? People are starting to find out that it's not as easy as it used to be. Not only that, now it's coming down to work ethic, where you really have to work twice, if not 3 times as hard to be able to get that buyer or that listing. And some people, I hate to say it, they just don't have that work ethic. They don't have that commitment level. They don't have that consistency. Now, the people that were successful pre-COVID, right, they built their business on all of that, on the backbone of work ethic, consistency, frequency, and that now is paying dividends for them, right, because they've been in the business for a longer time rather, and they realize, look, what worked for me before is always going to work for me continuously going forward. That's why they have longevity. And the agents that jumped in the last 2 years that really thought this was easy and that really spent their time being reactive versus proactive, they're not getting any business. And there was an interesting article the other day, the National Association of Realtors, I think there's 1.3 or 1.6 million real estate agents. Only 8% of agents have done 4 transactions or more nationally in the real estate industry. That means that 92% of agents have done 4 or less. And I don't know what the stats looks like, but if I were to bet, if I were a betting man, I would probably bet that over 50% of those agents haven't done a transaction at all this year. Right.
Maybe one, if any.
And you will see in the next 12 months to 24 months, so in the next year to 2 years, you're going to start seeing I guess the great resignation, right, of agents leaving the business.
We call it the purge on this show. We call it the
purge. Yeah. So you'll see the purge. You'll see a lot of agents leave because, look, in reality, if you have to pay your bills and this is becoming difficult, this is either going to be your second source of income, or some people, like I've noticed even with our brokerage, some people leave in general because they don't want to pay the fees associated with being a real estate agent, right? So just to hang your license for people to have context, it costs over $1,000 a year just to have your license, at a brokerage, between the brokerage's fees as well as the fees associated with the board. It's over $1,000.
Sure.
And in some brokerages, you're paying close to $2,000, right?
Yeah.
That's without doing a transaction. So for some people who are not really, justifying that expense, they're saying, hey, I'm just going to hang it, put me in referral, just take it to the state.
Yeah.
And they're going to go back to their 9 to 5.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that, but what is happening at the property level? Like here in New Jersey, New Jersey has held up really strong, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the country.
It's disgusting.
Yes, in many ways it is.
Great if you own property.
But
it's disgusting.
I'm also starting to see some cracks where if the house is done up real nice, done to the nines, in a good area, easily going over ask, if it's okay, if it's maybe updated, 20, 30 years ago, it needs updates clearly, but it's in relatively good shape, that's probably going maybe at ask. And then if there's stuff that's been...
No, we're still seeing, multiple. I mean, 2 of our agents, Massimo and Sunday, they work as a team. They have a listing in Roselle Park. They just did an open house.
Yeah.
The house is listed at $425, right? They did an open house. They had 45 different groups.
That's amazing price point, though.
Yeah, so it's anything really under.
But again,
a
it's
specific price
30
point.
years, it's outdated already.
Yeah,
So
right,
Yeah.
right.
So-
It needs an update.
they already have an offer on the table. It's over asking. Not much over, but by tomorrow, I promise you that they'll have 6 or 7 offers, and I guarantee they're going to get an offer
700
probably.
all cash.
No, they're going to get an offer somewhere in the 470 to 490, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got over 500 because again, inventory still in New Jersey is extremely low. There's a huge shortage.
Yeah.
Right. I think that will change next year because what I am starting to see, which nobody wants to talk about, is, and I'm seeing this from my own experience, people are not paying their mortgages. There's a good chunk of people out there that are banking on equity, putting their house on the market. They're in foreclosure stage, right? Pre-foreclosure stage, and they're banking on the equity. Well, I think that as more of that starts to happen, I believe that the market next year, as the administration changes hand, it will start to change.
But don't you think that Jersey has held up for a lot of different reasons, that New Jersey has held up really strong, and you don't think that will continue? Because I differ with that. I think that it will continue. I don't think that you're going to see the same things where you're seeing, put a house up on the weekend and all of a sudden you have 10 offers or 8 offers and you're going 50 grand over ask. I think it'll soften up where, maybe you're on the market for 2 or 3 weeks and maybe you're getting asked, or some, if it's good property in a good area, good price point, that 400 to 600 price point is a fantastic area right now. And I firmly believe that it's going to stay okay in New Jersey. I don't think you're going to see a major downturn. And a part of it too is people coming out of New York.
But I think that's already slowed down. I think people that were in New York that moved to Jersey, they've moved. There's a small percentage of people I think in New York right now moving to Jersey. I think there's more New Yorkers moving to Florida really than New Jersey. If you look at the markets, it's holding up here in Jersey, but the market in Florida is even crazier than Jersey.
Yes.
Right. And that has a lot to do with Connecticut, New Jersey, New Yorkers. But look, everything has a process. Everything has a transition. And you're not going to see the market just overnight just collapse unless there's a black swan situation like 9/11 or obviously 2007, 2008. I think it's the processes where it's supply and demand. There's going to be less buyers in the market if the rates continue to go up. I think that as there's more news or economic news that isn't really favoring the consumer, I think that will become a problem. I think people will start to slow down. I think a lot of the millennials that are making up the majority of the buyers, they just have FOMO. Like I was just having a conversation with my nephew. It's like, I got $80,000. What can I buy? I'm like, keep it. I told him, like, you know what's the safest place for you to put your money in right now? It's actually in the money market, in the bank. You're getting almost 5%. So I'm like, he's like, but I feel like I'm going to miss out. I'm like, all right, well, he wants to buy multifamily. Like right now, based on rates, based on price, there is not much out there that makes sense where you're getting a
way too
a
high.
5 or 6 or 7% rate of return. So if you're not getting that, and even if you are, think about it for a second. Like if you're getting 5 to 7% rate of return on a real estate property at its best, right? That's a big risk because not every year you're going to get that rate of return. There's going to be years where you have a tenant who's going to give you problems. You have a roof that's leaking. You have this that needs to be changed, right? So on average, you're not going to get 5 to 7%. So you're better off just putting it in a bank. 3-4 years ago, if you bought a property and you're getting 13, 15, 17% on your money, great. But you're not seeing that right now in this market. So I think a lot of it has to do with FOMO, really. Like buyers are having FOMO.
Yeah, people want to scratch that. I mean, but I feel that too. Like every single day, I'm like, oh, I just like want to.
You're just talking about that.
I know,
Right, literally
I
right
just
before
see
this.
it. I want to jump in and buy something, but I'm like, there's just like I don't like I do, but it doesn't actually make sense right now. Like there's no point. Like I can ride it out.
Yeah.
It would be
It
smart
doesn't
to
make
ride it
sense
out.
for you. I mean, if you
I
have
know.
a 3% interest rate, why buy?
Right, I know.
And
It's
get.
just like, wait, what's your interest rate? I'm like, yeah, 2.75%.
Yeah.
To your point, though, the only thing that's really stopping the market from really transitioning is simply that the interest rates were very low and people just don't want to sell. And I don't blame them.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
that's an objection that I
Yeah, but
that
you know
we're
what's going to
getting a
happen
lot.
though? Watch, you're going to see, because we're getting to the top now. The Fed's going to maybe raise rates 1 or 2 more times. That's it. And then they're going to start lowering middle of next year, towards the end of next year. And then, so we'll get this is one of the main drivers of my thought process here is we'll probably get a pause here for the next 8 months where it'll kind of settle out a little bit. You go into the summertime, it's going to die down. Fall will pick up a little bit. Next winter should be atrocious. And then all of a sudden, as soon as rates start dropping, everybody's coming back. Everybody that wanted to buy, coming back into the market. And it's just going to be off to the races again. Just like it was, I think about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, where all of a sudden everybody came out of the woodwork and wanted to buy houses like in May or April or May.
Right,
Yeah,
because
but-
it dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
But like Mike said too, I mean, people who are in the business, what busy is a different term compared to who you're speaking to. Because right now, like I don't think it's slow for us. 2 months ago, I didn't think it was slow for us. 6 months ago, I didn't think it was slow for us. I mean, December, January, always slower in this business. But if you were in the business pre-COVID, I mean, you've ridden out this wave before. If you just got in during COVID, like everyone was making money, and then all of a sudden you had to work to make that money, and you realize that you can't survive. I mean, depending on who you're talking to, title person, mortgage broker or real estate agent, you can't survive on one closing a month. They're like, okay, now what do I do? So
Well, it's funny because over the last 2 or 3 years, you've seen everybody come in. It was so easy. Everybody forgot that, oh, crap, you know what? I got a prospect. Or, oh, crap, I got to do some type of business development because it was so easy. And now everybody's like, oh, crap, I got to go do this. And some people just don't want to do it. They're just, you know what I'm saying? They're just, not that they don't know that they need to do it. They're just not putting in the energy or the effort to go and actually do.
They weren't trained that way. They weren't
business
trained to
development
work on the
consistently.
business. They're trained on working in the business. They're consumed with being busy, and they think that's progress.
Right.
And that's not progress, right? We
Right.
all know that in order for you to sustain, to obviously create sustainability in this business, you have to consistently prospect, regardless of how many deals you have in a pipeline. That doesn't change. And you're starting to see a lot of the older agents that get it go back to the basics. I've been preaching that for over a year.
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
like I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things 6 months ahead of time or before the time it gets there. That's why I think that the market. I'm doing gloom. Like I think the market is
I
going
already
to.
know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing gloom because if you really look at it, what's the reason why the markets have gone up?
Yeah.
What happened? COVID. If you took that away, the markets wouldn't have gotten there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we debate that? Right. Yeah, it's
yeah,
probably
probably.
factual.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of money pumped into the markets, right, through stimulation, right? You've had the PPP loan, you had this, that, and the other. So a lot of people have money, but that money is contracting. You're starting to see a lot less money in the markets, right? In the equity markets and obviously
But
the.
I'm still seeing cash offers.
It's crazy.
It is.
Every time I put in an offer on a house, there's always a cash
I listen
offer.
as much as
Yeah,
I
but wait.
love that, but it's just
You're right.
You
There is a
lost
lot of
the
cash
cash
offers.
offers.
But here's the reality. How much of it is really cash? I'm also seeing a lot of fraud in the market. We just caught somebody the other day
Yeah.
where they put a cash offer. It wasn't really a cash offer, right? We're also starting to see like the cash for keys where it's really not a cash offer.
I know that.
So there's a lot of fraud also happening in the market, and that's a problem for me. Like I'm starting to see that, and that's people getting desperate, and that's also real estate agents. contributing to that. Like they're getting desperate. I need my offers accepted, so let's do it this way.
Yeah,
So
and there's also a lot of buyers that are having buyer's remorse. Now they're trying to like back out of the deal. They put in some obnoxious offer to get their offer accepted, and then they're like,
We want out.
yeah.
Well,
They change their mind later.
And that
right?
comes down to, like you were saying too, like some realtors are, pushing them to put, oh, you have to waive this, do all this, and then they get in and maybe they talk to their attorney or they sit down. They're like, oh my God, like what did I just?
Yeah, or they do
Signed
their
up for?
inspection.
Right.
Yeah, they do
Like,
their
oops.
inspection and they see there's a ton of things wrong with the house, and
Yeah.
they're like, I got to get out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
because
but-
now the new norm is like, oh yeah, limit your home inspection
Right.
requests.
That's been that thing for 2 years. But here's what people don't want to talk about. Just like in '07, if somebody came up to me and said, the market's going to crash, I would say, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. What happened? Market crashed faster than you could do this, right? So just like the market went up, it's realistic that the market could come down. If you look at job market right now, it's not that great.
No,
It's not good at all.
Yep.
Right? If you look at consumer spending, it's trickling down, right? Credit card, the average credit card debt right now has risen drastically from 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
That's a big problem. So I look at the economic.
Student loans are kicking back in too.
Yeah, so
People are gonna have to start making payments.
I'm
on those
sorry,
again
man.
soon.
Like X and Y equals Z, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if your expenses are going up and your income is lower, right, and people are literally like, think about it. When you write up an offer, or rather, when you write up a loan, right? We take their gross. We don't take their net income. People are very over leveraged. Not everybody, but a lot of people are over leveraged.
Sure.
And then you combine it with, not the best economic news coming out lately, right? And what the Feds do two things. That's their two responsibilities. Put money back into the markets and contract the markets by taking money out. And that's what they're doing. That's why they raise rates. They're raising rates so you could take your money and put it back into the banks. That's why banks right now, if you can open up a money market right now between 4 and 5%. You did not see that for years.
No.
You're better off putting your money in the bank right now. So ask yourself, why are banks paying so much? Because there's a liquidity issue. They need money back in the banks. And if this liquidity issue continues, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just think that someone out there can press the reset button and there we go.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, how do you think that the current market is affecting investments? Because that's the other thing that's a big challenge right now is especially here in New Jersey where we are. I mean, the investment opportunities are, few and far between. I mean, there's just, you don't find deals anymore.
It's very difficult, yeah.
Right?
And by the way, just FYI, probably about 30% of people out there flipping are actually making money. The other 70% are losing money. We have
Right.
one right now. We have a flipper right now that we have their house listed. They're losing over $250,000. All right.
How?
Because the money is when you buy, and if you buy predicated on a value that's not real,
Yeah,
because
no, I
you
know.
made up that value, or because you were sold on a value because someone told you it was going to be worth X amount of dollars, right? And you go all in, and all of a sudden your scope of work, right, was $200,000, and it's $400,000. That's how you underestimated. Cost of construction right now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, I think a lot of investors, right? That has also been part of the problem here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Is a lot of these newer investors come into the market and they're like, "Oh, this is easy. I could totally do this. I've watched HGTV. I know exactly what I'm doing."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they get their real estate license, they buy a house, and they think that they're going to
They
go
flip,
and do
yeah.
this. They've never done it before, and to watch them go through the process and then get to the end, and they're like, "But I thought I was going to make all this money," and to your point, like, all right, maybe they make a little bit, but when we say a little, maybe you're making 10 or 20 grand, and for the effort that you just put in, what did you make? You barely got minimum wage out of it to make 10 or 20 grand after
Correct.
3 or 4 or 5 months. I think a lot of that has been prevalent in the market where people are just going in and outbidding and saying, "Oh, I know that deal, should have been a 350 house, but I'll bid at 400 because I know I can sell it for 5."
Yeah.
And do all this, but then they get into the house and they're like, "Oh, well, 10 grand in renovation is really 50." And now all of a sudden you're paying a
And it's
realtor.
taking longer. And most of
Yeah.
those cash offers aren't cash offers. They're actually
not.
hard money loans or private lenders. And that's contributing to the cost too.
Yeah, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that a lot of these guys are brand new and they're willing to cut corners. And then guess what? You buy a house for top dollar in 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. You bought a
You're
lemon.
gonna see that.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, you're SOL. And that is happening right now as we speak. You know, I just had a conversation with somebody the other day that they bought a house. It's been 2 years, and they didn't realize their home inspector was, you know, somebody they didn't know. It was given to them by the seller, and, you know, they found out that there's huge termite, like structural termite damage issues. Well, he went and got an estimate. What are you thinking? $70,000.
Really?
God.
There you go.
My God, that
You
house
think he
would
has
fall again.
$70,000? He doesn't. He's like, I don't have $70,000. So what do you think is going to happen? Eventually, he's going to miss a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's going to happen. So you're starting to see that a lot of people. And look, I'm a big advocate of that. If you're flipping properties, Congress, specifically in the state of New Jersey, like there should be a fund, because I see what's going to happen in 5 years. There should be a fund. That's number one. Number two, like you should be licensed as a flipper, as a renovator, because they have too much control in the transaction for the most part.
Sure.
In this market, right, as a seller, and just in general, right, they have too much control. And look, home inspectors, I love them, but there's only so much they can catch. They can't see what's behind the walls.
Well, that's what I was just going to say to you. 'Cause, like, it's interesting because you can make something look really pretty on the outside, but it can be a rotting corpse underneath,
Yeah.
and you'll never know that until you're living in the house, and then you're
Right.
like, hey, this little squeak doesn't sound right. And it gets progressively worse over the 6 or 8 months or a year or 2 years, and then
Did
all
that
of a
just
sudden,
happen with at your flip
yes.
when you guys
I had
took
the-
something out?
So it was an old house. It was built in 1990, and they used
It's not
the
that old,
OS,
Brian.
no, but it is because it was OSB, right? And it was wet, and when that gets wet, what happens is the particles start to separate in the wood, and so the floor gets warped, and then not.
What's that? What?
They're coming for you with that
They're
mustache,
coming, right?
right?
Yeah. No, I gotta go. I gotta put my jacket on. I gotta go. No, but you know, so the floor got wet, and then it started to rot, and then what also happened is it retains moisture too, and they used nails, and it started to rot out. The nails started to rust, and what was funny is one of the walls actually they nailed into the subfloor, but because the nails they were old nails, they rusted out. You could literally push the wall like this.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was wild, like, but you know, those are things. See, having done it
But
for a long time.
if you didn't, if
But
you
you're doing
weren't-
the right thing 'cause you have
exactly,
good
that's what I was
intent,
gonna
but
say.
most people
a lot
don't
of
do
people
it.
don't,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
No,
where they
like
run
I
into
had to cut.
issues.
We cut open the walls. We redid framing, redid subfloors.
But
Like a lot of work.
That was in the budget, right?
No, it wasn't.
Well, you're supposed to say yes, Ryan, because you're supposed to.
Well,
no, but
this is-
but that's not something
but
you're
this
going to
is-
know
we-
ahead of time.
No,
you
but
know.
I mean, you're supposed to have
To
a
the-
margin of
to-
error, right?
To his, yes,
Like-
well,
Contingency.
yeah, we do have a contingency, but it wasn't. You know, the original budget was going to be like 25 to 28,000. Now we're at like 45. You know, obviously, I
but
got
you're
it for.
doing the right thing. So
I'm
you have
doing
to
the right
stand
thing at
behind the product.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right. I have to stand behind that product and know that I'm putting a family or somebody into that house that's gonna it's gonna survive.
Most people don't care.
Yeah,
You know, that's
they
just the
don't.
truth.
Right.
Most people don't have good intent. You know, look.
But I will also say this to you too. I also bought it right. I also got it at the right price.
yeah, where you
So-
can make mistakes and you're,
Not that I can make mistakes, but I have enough margin for error in there where I can make those repairs, and I'm going to make less money.
But you're doing the
I'm
right
talking
thing.
about
doing the right
accounting
thing.
mistakes.
Like
Like if you were, let's say you were off by $15,000, you still bought okay. You're fine. You're going to make money.
yeah, but that's
There's enough.
see that's to your point earlier. That's what a lot of investors are not doing right now. They're not. They don't. And you and I have had this
The
conversation
numbers
so many
They're
times.
chasing
They're
the
just
deal.
tight.
Yeah, they're chasing the deal. But you walk through a house. I walk through a house. You're gonna go, yep, that, and that immediately, and then all right. There's always stuff that's gonna happen when you open up a wall, but you know
Right.
immediately I've got to do all these different things, and most of these people don't know that.
Yeah, they're chasing the deal.
But not
they're
even
chasing
that.
the
They're
deal.
not even. I mean, we've talked about this before. People aren't even doing the due diligence with something like a survey, and they're buying.
Yes.
Oh my God! Like buying these properties, expecting to build, and then you buy it, you close, and then you can't actually even build on the property. So
Right.
now what do? Now you have to turn around and sell it at a great loss. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the market has definitely changed, and it's very interesting here in New Jersey because there's all these different pockets of, you know, prices that are holding strong. Some prices are not holding strong. When you look at other parts of the country, like California, you know, they're in a steady decline right now. But everybody's moving to Texas and to to Florida, and everybody's coming out of New York into Jersey. There's just a lot. It's interesting, the market. We haven't seen a market like this where there's just these little pockets of activity that are staying strong, but then other parts are falling apart.
Yeah.
What's
going to be interesting? What'd be interesting
apart
is
over
that on the commercial, not on the commercial side, but let's say, you mentioned a lot of people left New York. I have friends of mine that work, for Wall Street. They're in another state, right? Not in New Jersey, like all the way in Georgia and Florida.
Sure.
There's a bunch of articles already where companies are saying like, we're not seeing the production. We need you back. Oh, go figure. You thought that someone was going to work from home and they were going to be really productive, right? So now they're asking people to come back to the office.
Yeah.
Well, but
you live in Georgia and you got to sell your home. You're going to sell your home for whatever.
Yeah, but some companies did move down to Florida, moved to Jacksonville, moved to Tampa. Yeah. I was just in Tampa a couple weeks ago. Gorgeous. And a lot of companies have moved to a second headquarters type of setup. And Tampa was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't talk highly enough about Tampa.
Yeah, to his point, I don't think there's really many more people coming from New York because now they're not working from home anymore. Now it's like 3 days a week they're in the office, right?
Yeah.
It's not a complete work from home anymore.
We're getting people calling us saying, I want to move back into the city.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't want to commute an hour anymore. I don't want to commute an hour and a half.
Because they realize that it's not
They gotta
feasible
go
anymore.
back.
They didn't think that they were going to go back.
Yeah.
People are
Everybody
expecting to
was-
work from home now, though. That's the problem when they get
They're
hired.
expecting it, but
Yeah.
also I think people jumped too quickly when they saw the rates go down so
Yep.
low. They were like, "All right, screw it. Why am I here then? I'm working from home. The rates are so low. I might as well buy a house now. I'm going to Jersey."
They're moving up by May.
But
Where there's no train station in sight.
but still the market is still really good, and I think really all it comes down to is supply and demand.